Hello, my name is Maddie Whalen. You may or may not know who I am. I'm a recent graduate from the University of Colorado, SCO Buffs. I hope you like my ostrich painting in the background. I just wanted to make an update video to a video I made 2 years ago called My Experience with Southwestern Advantage. No, the title is not clickbait. I actually did go out and sell stuff door to door this summer with Southwestern, so I just kind of wanted to talk about my journey and story since that video ended. So a lot's happened since then, and I've done 2 more summers. First, yeah, I know my shirt says Bookman. I got a comment on the last video that said I sounded like a bro dude, so now I'm just embracing it. But yeah, a couple disclaimers I wanted to make. First, this was not prompted by anyone in management. I decided to make this video completely on my own. So I'm going to talk about the good things about the company and some things that maybe I would want changed or not as good. I don't want to say not as good, but things that are more difficult about this program. As well as I'm not going to edit this video at all, so mess ups and things will probably happen, but that's okay. I just wanted to give my raw, unedited recount of my experience this summer, because a pandemic happened, or it's still happening, and a lot of people were asking me, like, is the summer even going to happen? It was kind of up in the air for a little bit, but yeah, we had a summer, and it was kind of crazy, but it happened. So this is just overall my Southwestern Advantage experience. I have now completed 4 summers, so I basically have done a year of knocking, which is crazy. I never thought I would be here. Oh, and don't mind, I got my McDonald's cup full of water. But I did not, when I first started this program, I would have never thought I would be here. I guess the reason that I'm making this video is because I know YouTube and the internet, they're great places to look up information. And I know when I first was joining Southwestern, I didn't see a video like this. I saw a couple posted online from other girls. I don't know if I've seen any ones with guys, but those are true stories to them. This is just my story, so take this with a grain of salt. I just want to put out information about my journey, and you guys can take it however you want. If this helps answer any questions, that's awesome. If not, just roll away, I guess. So, how this summer went, I guess just to update you guys, this year, since I graduated school last year in 2019, I was actually recruiting full-time with the company in New Mexico. So I actually moved to open a campus down at the University of New Mexico, and I loved it. I met so many great people. I'm not really going to talk about my recruiting experience in this video, but that was a whole other journey. So if you do want that, I'm happy to make a video like that. But I loved it. It was so much fun, and I met some great people. I ended up bringing out 3 people to the book field, which was awesome, and I love them so much, and they killed it this summer. Anyway, but I'm gonna start the story, I guess, at the beginning of the summer, so May. At this point in May, we already had a couple months of experience with online recruiting, and like more knowledge was building up about the pandemic, so we knew, okay, like if we keep a safe distance, like we'll probably be okay. And now I'm not upper management, so there were some decisions made that I heard about. I guess I didn't help make the decisions, but I am far enough along now into the program where I was involved in some smaller decisions for our group. And so how it started in May was, we knew at this point we needed to kind of figure out how we were going to go out and still sell door to door, because it was a question for a little bit. That's normally, it's a 165-year-old company, so when they told us that we might not be able to go sell door to door right away or at all, it was kind of a, oh shoot, what are we gonna do moment. But how it ended up working out was in May, because my group is based in Colorado, so there's about well, actually, the summer there was about 70 of us, but about half of us are based in Colorado. So how the summer worked is in May, we all quarantined for 2 weeks in different Airbnbs of 7 or less kids. Might have been 10, depending on the area. But since this company is nationwide, there were Airbnbs all over the country. So ours was in Colorado, and there was a group of 7 girls. We separated it by gender. So the girls all stayed together, the guys all stayed together in multiple houses. And each house had a manager, so someone like myself, or a first year, which was most of the other students. So in my group, there were 2 managers that were living in the house, and then 5 first year students. And first of all, shout out to the first year students for deciding to take part in this journey when we didn't really even know what was going on. So I'm super proud of them. But the first 2 weeks, we all quarantined together. And what we did was we took daily temperatures, and we only had one person go to the store at the very beginning. So yeah, at the very beginning. So we never really left the house except to work out as a group. We'd work out every morning. We'd do like a run. It's a way to get ourselves up and on the schedule for the summer. But we did an online sales school. So that was a first in 165-year history. We had an online sales school. So in each Airbnb, we watched like a week's worth of content from actually people in our other sister companies. So people from Southwestern Consulting and Investment Group sent out videos or did live streams of them just giving us different sales training. So what we did after that, after the week of sales school, was virtual selling. Now, virtual selling, what we would do is call our friends and family and ask if they had any leads or people they knew that, oh, and by the way, with Southwestern, if you've gone through the info session or not, we sell educational products. So it's like books, apps, and websites that help with like early learning, so ABCs all the way up to SATs and ACTs. So when we were calling, we weren't calling to sell them right on the spot, basically just to generate leads. And then we would call the leads and set up virtual appointments. So for that whole next week, we did virtual recruiting, where we would call lots of different people, get different leads and what am I saying? Sorry. We get different leads, and then we would call the leads and set up virtual appointments. Never any pressure, just hey, if you're worried about school this year or next year, like I can talk to you about the options. If you like it, you can buy it. If not, not a big deal. We always train and work with a no pressure atmosphere, because it's true, it really doesn't matter if they buy it or not, because we're gaining experience either way. And I firmly believe that. So a couple people did buy, some didn't. It was cool to catch up with a lot of old friends. So that was the first part. So that was called phase 1, which was our virtual selling and virtual sales school. To be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of the virtual selling. Since I had done 3 summers before, it was a pretty tough transition for me, especially calling friends and family. I thought it was kind of awkward. I'm really grateful for the experience now. I really liked being able to, now looking back, I'm happy that I was able to get myself out of my comfort zone a little bit and learn how to get referrals, because that's just such a big thing in business that I had never stepped into before. With virtual selling, to be honest, I think it was a lot easier for the first year students because they didn't really have anything else to base it on. So I'm grateful for the experience, but I'm glad that we were able to eventually go into phase 2. I do know that a couple other managers will back me on that it was a great solution for our company. I thought that it was really cool how the company and we kept our cool and didn't freak out and just cut the summer right away. But I wasn't a huge fan of it, and that's just my personal opinion. But then eventually we were able to go into phase 2. So phase 2 was our normal 165-year-old version of the summer. So what we all did, after we had all quarantined for 2 weeks, we all drove to sales school. Normally they split up sales schools into different weeks, but this year they had one sales school for everybody. It was different in years past because there were a lot of COVID precautions we needed to uphold, which I totally get and understand. So we had masks on at all times. They were these like I wish I had one, but they're like gator masks, so they were around our necks, so we could just pull them up and down, which I loved. They were free, and what we did was we all got to Nashville, and since we were all quarantined for 2 weeks, taking daily temperatures, anybody that had a higher temperature than I think 100, they went to the doctor and they were separated from everybody else. So we knew that everybody that was going to sales school was healthy. Or the company did. I didn't know the status of everybody, but I just assumed that they were. So then we had a not normal, but normal sales school. So how that worked was it was just socially distanced. There was a conference room. Normally we all sit close together, but this year we were all separated at least 6 feet apart. There were different conference rooms. Normally there's just one. One. Normally it's just one. But this year they were separated into two, maybe 3 or 4. Yeah, 2 big conference rooms, and then we usually just had smaller group meetings. Now, our group had about 15 people, and since we were all the people in my group were quarantined together or in 2 separate houses, like it was easy to intermingle and run around. And most of sales school is outside, so we spent the majority of it outside doing outside training with our small groups. We had a couple indoor in that big conference room, but it was huge. It was way bigger than it's ever been, just to uphold the COVID guidelines. So we had normal sales school, we had speakers, and it was a pep rally. It was really nice because a lot of us hadn't seen anyone in months, so it was cool to see other people from a distance. And it was cool to get some training and kind of get back to the normal Bookfield feel, because a lot of us, the pandemic hit everybody hard, and so it was cool to be able to go and do something that felt at least semi-normal. So that's how sales school went. That was 5 days, 6, yeah, it was about 6 days, and then after that we all drove off to our territories. Now, normally there's a ton of research that's done on the territories that we go to. So, sorry, I'm like breathing really heavy. Normally there's always a ton of research. This year there was even more. Like we researched income demographics, safety, number one. Income demographics, safety, just what else? I guess those are the 2 main ones. I guess like population and how many people are in the towns. This year, we were really looking into where in the country is COVID relatively low, because those were the territories we were going to work in, because we wanted to be as safe as possible and help as many people as we could still. So, for example, none of us, last year I was in New York, this year nobody went to New York, nobody went to California. I think almost everyone in the US was in like the mid-east. I don't know what that part of the country's called, but like my whole group was in Kentucky. There was a group in Arizona. There was a group in Kansas, Indiana, Wisconsin, Georgia. That's like the majority of where everybody was, just because at the time in May, those COVID numbers were lower than like, say, New York, Florida, California, things like that. So we were kind of centralized for safety reasons, because safety is the number one priority. And that's the one that I felt most comfortable with. I was sent to the boonies of Kentucky. Shout out to Glasgow. Loved it. Super fun. But we were sent to the Goonies. So the COVID rates were really low, and it was very easy to feel comfortable and safe there. So that's how the research was done there. So we got to Kentucky, or just from my experience, we got to Kentucky, and then we had a relatively normal summer with normal problems and normal successes. So the first day was kind of interesting. I actually had 5 customers my first day. I think a lot of people were excited just to see a human again, just smiling like, hey, I'm here to help with school. I was in, like I said, the boonies of Kentucky, so I had my mask on always, like I always wore it, and whenever an old person, I say old, elderly person answered, pulled my mask up. I tried, a part of our job, like our main demographic are families with kids, so I do my best to avoid elderly houses anyway. So sometimes, like, you can just tell when old people live in a house. They have these thing called grandma orbs, if you've ever seen, like, the I don't know what they're called, but it's like a structure that has like a glass orb. Just like people with kids don't have those normally, or like people with younger children don't have those. So I kind of used my intuition and advice from neighbors. Like if they always said, hey, like next door they're super old, you probably shouldn't go there. I'm like, okay, skip. And I'd just go to where I'm the most useful. So I'd have my mask on. And in our approach, we stand far back anyways, just because it's kind of awkward to be like, hey, how's it going? So I'd always stand really far back and just turn my head and be like, hey, my name's Maddie. And then I'd do my normal approach. So I'd approach, say, hey, I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're safe. Have an option to help with school. If you'd like to listen, I'm happy to sit outside and talk to you about it. If not, not a big deal. Over the summer, normally I do about 80% of my sit-down presentations outside anyways. It's faster, it's more effective. This year it was about 95%. I always sat outside unless somebody blatantly invited me inside. While I did have some people invite me inside, maybe that's just the part of town I was in. People felt safe and comfortable. I tried to do my best to make people feel safe and comfortable, helping with their education and just being a decent human. But for the most part, I did everything outside. So the majority of my days would look like I'd get up in the morning, we'd go to our breakfast spot. Now, in the part of the country I was in, the restaurants were still open. So we'd go so early in the morning, there wouldn't be that many people there. I'd get to the restaurant at like 6:15. So normally there was just a couple of older grandpas, but for the most part, yeah, there weren't too many people there. They'd have my breakfast ready, and I became really close. Cowboys Country Cooking, shout out to them. They were so good, such good food. And then I'd go eat breakfast, and then I'd go have my morning appointments starting at 7:59 or 8, and then visit houses all day until 9:01. Usually later, I usually had night appointments set up, so I'd work anywhere from 80 to 83 hours a week. That was my average. And then, yeah, I'd get referrals. I got a lot better at getting referrals because of virtual selling, so that was a kind of nice residual effect. At the time, it was uncomfortable, but then over the summer, I used it to my advantage. And then, yeah, that was the majority of the summer. So I did that schedule from the, first week of June to the first week of September. So I took orders all summer, and then on the last week I did deliveries. So for anybody's books that I didn't deliver on the spot to, I brought back, and sometimes I got more stuff because schools had changed a lot over the summer, so they decided they wanted to get more. Some people were happy with what they ordered, and then I went home. Yeah. Some things I really liked about the summer and the program this summer in general was just how calmly everything was handled. It seemed like there was never a person that was a manager or a leader in our company that was scared. I mean, they probably were, but they never made it known. They seemed very calm, level-headed, had a plan before we even knew what was going on. There was a lot of backup plans that were built in, and I just really liked that it seemed very seamless, the transition. I also liked the amount of research that was done. Now, I'm in Colorado, so the rules for COVID are pretty strict. And when I went to Kentucky, they weren't as strict, but I liked that I was still able to follow whatever guidelines I felt comfortable with and what other people felt comfortable with. So I liked that as well. And then obviously the people I work with, seems like they are a lot of go-getters, people that just didn't want to let the pandemic hit them. And I loved that. I loved that it wasn't there's not a scared mentality everywhere, Like, it's definitely around, but there's a lot of people that definitely found a way. And now I'm not saying that if you didn't do the summer that you're scared or anything like that. I mean, it's definitely not for everybody. Just the atmosphere I was surrounded with just constantly reminded me of it, so I liked that a lot. Couple things that were not as fun. At the end of the summer, I actually ended up in the hospital. I did get sick twice over the summer. In the middle of the summer, I think like June, I got strep throat, and I was super worried that it was COVID, because at the time I didn't really know the difference in symptoms and all of that. So one day I was working, and I actually had a first year with me, and in the middle of the day I was just like, oh my gosh, I cannot focus, I cannot think. I didn't know I would, like, it hit me really quick, so I'd like, even I woke up, I felt fine, and then in the middle of the day I was like, oh my god, oh, I don't feel good. And then I called my district sales leader, said, hey, I feel really crappy, I don't really know what to do. And he said, okay, go get tested, stop working. I said, okay. And I really like how that was handled, by the way. I wasn't pressured to keep working. I didn't feel comfortable going door to door anymore. And he said, yeah, you're probably right, that's probably not a good idea. So I got tested for COVID and for strep. My COVID test came back negative, my strep test came back positive. I was on antibiotics fine the next day. I missed the Sunday meeting the next day. I got to Zoom into it, but I missed the Sunday meeting, so that was kind of unfortunate, getting sick, but I've never been so happy to get strep in my life. But that was definitely weird, because in years past, I probably wouldn't have been as worried about it, but this year it was definitely a bigger factor. And also, at the end of the summer, I probably won't show pictures, it's kind of gross, but since I did a lot of my appointments outside, my skin is very susceptible to bug bites. I have to wear bug spray every day, especially in the East. I get bit all the time. My bites are really bad. Just my skin, I don't know, my blood, they just love them. And at the end of the summer, I saw on the bottom of my thigh, because I sat outside a lot on people's front porches, I saw these weird bug bites on my thigh, and I didn't really think much of them. And then during the check-in process, when we actually were done with the summer, they started getting bigger and more infected. So I went to a doctor, an urgent care, the same urgent care who helped me with my strep. I showed them the bug bites. They said, okay, here's some antibiotics. Hopefully it'll go away. And then over the course of that week, the bites just kept getting worse and worse, and it turned from like a small little bite to a huge rash on my leg. Like, it covered the whole backside of my thigh. And then the rashes started to spread on my knees, and I was starting to freak out. I didn't feel better. They were getting worse. It was itchy. It was not fun. And then I went to another doctor in Nashville, and to be honest, it didn't seem like he cared at all. He gave me just some cream that I just knew wouldn't work. Like, I knew my body, and I just knew that what he said was not correct. He just didn't really seem to care. Well, I'm not going to go far too into that, but he didn't really seem to care at all. And then I called the same urgent care in Kentucky, and I said, hey, it's not getting better. He prescribed me a different cream, but kept me on the antibiotics. And then at the end of this summer, I actually decided to go visit my family, who all live in Indiana. So I drove up to Indiana. I just felt kind of weird on the trip. Like, my health, I just didn't feel very good. And it was kind of sad, because I hadn't seen this family in like 4 years. And while I was there, I was just not really focused on them. I was just like, I feel all right, but my legs and my body doesn't feel very good. And then one day I was eating brunch with all of them at my aunt's house. And I woke up and I was like, ugh, I don't feel good. And then I was eating brunch with them, and I still don't know how to explain this symptom, but I was really out of it. I was just like, I did not know what's going on. And at that point, I kind of decided, hey, like, I think I need to go to the emergency room. Like, I just felt like I was going to pass out. I'd maybe throw up. I had no idea. Went to the emergency room, and they decided to keep me. I wasn't expecting to be admitted, but they admitted me. They took a lot of vitals. They took, the whole time I was there, like 10 vials of blood. And they were testing for, basically they kept me admitted because they didn't want me to have a blood bacterial disease. They were worried that I got some bacteria into my blood, and so they were just monitoring it. It was more of a precaution. At first, I just felt really sick, but after a couple hours, I felt fine, but I ended up staying there for 3 days and 2 nights, while they were monitoring my blood cultures. And to this day, they don't know what happened. Any doctor I visited, all of my blood tests came back fine. They put me on a different antibiotic, so the consensus is that I had an allergic reaction to the first antibiotics that I was given. But yeah, they gave me a different antibiotic, the rashes went away, and I feel fine now. Well, I say that, I ended up getting strep again about 5 days ago. So ever since I've been home, I've been kind of dealing with some health stuff, which was not the most fun way to end the summer. And I say all of that because this is the reality of my summer. It ended pretty rough. Lots of health problems. None of them was for COVID. I took another COVID test and it came back negative again, thank goodness. But yeah, the end of my summer hasn't ended great, but I'm finally on the up and up, feeling better, and my journey is continuing from here. I don't know how I ended, oh my gosh, it's already 26 minutes. How the summer ended up was, honestly, I hit the Growth Award, which was selling about $7,000 more than I did last summer, this summer. So I had a much better summer for the most part, except for the end. Most of it was so much better. It seemed just like education was on the forefront of everyone's mind. They were really scared. I mean, I was scared too, but just, I can't imagine being in this time with kids in school right now. My dad is a teacher. I've seen how hard it was for him to transition from in school to teaching at home. It's only his second year, so he's actually adjusting pretty quick. But for parents with kids, I cannot imagine how hard it is to help them with school. So this summer, more than any other, I really felt like I was helping people. Like in the past, I've known that stuff to help with homework is helpful, but I didn't always feel like it was necessary. But this year I felt that my job was very necessary. There were not a ton of people that were willing to go out and face the unknown to help people with their education. So I felt very in tune with how other people were feeling, how I was feeling, and I just loved that we were able to go and do something this summer and just help people. So this summer, more than any other, I felt like I really helped people. I ended the summer making about $18,000 with book sales, and then an extra $4,000 with website sales, which means that because we sell book packages, that's a one-time price. You can do payment plans, and then website packages that are monthly or yearly subscriptions. So those are updated every month, and they kind of stockpile throughout the summer, and then you get them all wired to you at the end of the summer. Or actually next month, I'll get all that stuff wired back to me. But that's how I ended the summer. Last summer, I made about $13,000 total, so it was a pretty big jump. I was really happy about it. And I hit both of the incentive trips. There's one that's called Sizzler, where we all go to Mexico. And that one is still pending, to be honest. I mean, we're monitoring COVID situations. Hopefully we'll still be able to go. It might get rescheduled to a different time. Either way, I'm happy I was still able to say that I made it. And it was not without hard work. It was extremely difficult, but I actually felt like I did something. Yeah, so I guess some ending remarks. We did have a summer, and as a whole, the company had the best summer it's had since 2005. So, or the US division at least. So I would say that a part of it, yes, was the pandemic, and education, in-home educational products were definitely, the sales were good. But it was not easy. I mean, I heard a lot of stories of people trying to go on Amazon, finding these products, the prices were hiked up, or just like ABC Mouse, not being able to get a hold of customer service because the lines were just so booked up. So it was cool. People said that it was cool to be able to talk to a human, and I thought that was cool too. I'm glad that I was able, and we were able to find a way to have a summer, to do a program like this in the middle of this crisis. And it's still ongoing. I don't really know what it's going to look moving forward, but I know that if we were able to find a way in the summer, we'll be able to find a way. And that's just like a life thing. I mean, I don't want to let this stop me anymore, or stop me any more than it has. And I'm excited to see what the future holds. And so, yeah, that's kind of my update on the summer. It was a lot of fun. Oh, I guess I forgot to mention Sunday meetings. Sunday meetings usually our group, we work Monday through Saturday, and then Sundays we go and have meetings. And usually the meetings are in different places. This year, most of them were at parks outside, like with water activities, just so we could social distance and be outside. It was summer, so it was not a big deal. It felt pretty normal, but I wanted to throw that out there, that was a part of the COVID precautions, was just moving most of our meetings outside. And yeah, I guess the last thing I want to say is thank you for watching. I know this is a long video. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, shoot me a message wherever this is posted. Well, YouTube, but Facebook or anything, just shoot me a message if you have any questions. I am now officially part of the year-long club, which is insane, and I am excited to see what the future holds. But I hope this helped, and yeah, awesome. Have a great day. Bye.